my name is Shannon and I've chosen the maths phenomenon tessellations. The lesson I've chosen to demonstrate is aimed at a kindergarten level, so children around the age of 5 or 6. I would start the lesson by saying, today we are going to learn about tessellations. A tessellating shape is a shape that fits together with no gaps. I would ask students to try and name some shapes that they think would tessellate and write these down on the board. I'd then give the children some square tiles like this and some round counters like this, or something similar, doesn't have to be the same, and ask the children to fit these shapes together to make them into a pattern like this. When they've done this, I'll discuss their patterns with them and ask them questions like, which one of these shapes fitted together with no gaps? And their response would obviously be the squares. And then I would say, so which shapes left gaps between? Which would be the circles. I'd then explain to them that shapes that fit together with no gaps, like your square pattern, are called tessellating shapes. They tessellate. This is what tessellation means. We could then go back to the shapes we'd named earlier on the board and see which ones they think are still correct, that they named as tessellating shapes. After this activity, I would ask the children about where they think they've seen tessellating patterns in nature and the environment, and the children can call out their ideas, which for example might be the wire around a bird cage, or the tiles on their bathroom floor, or a turtle shell, or the pattern on a snake skin, or a honeycomb, if they've seen that before. I could also have these pictures displayed on a computer so they could actually see the patterns. And then I'd ask them again, so what does tessellation mean? And see if they can tell me that it is a shape that fits together with no gaps. Then I'd take them for a walk around outside the building to see if they can find any shapes in the environment that tessellate. As they see them and point them out, which could be the brickwork on a building or the path they're walking on, I'd ask them, what shape is it that's tessellating? Whether it be a square, a rectangle or a triangle. The children might also like to take a piece of paper and a pencil and sketch the patterns that they are seeing. Or if you have the resources, they could all have a camera and take photos of these patterns. When we come back into the room, I'll give them some cardboard cutout shapes like this, and try and have a different range of shapes, maybe even some irregular shapes, and then I'd ask them which shapes tessellate. Once they figure out which shapes are tessellating, I would ask them to glue them together in a pattern on a piece of paper. They could also use some pattern blocks to trace around and make up patterns. Then they could do this sheet, which just asks to use pattern blocks or something similar, like even these, and make these patterns. They could also use things around them in the classroom, like books, to make a tessellating pattern. To extend on this activity, I would suggest to children that they could sketch some tessellating patterns that they might see at home and then bring them in the next day to discuss with everyone. When reflecting with the children, I'd ask them questions like, where did you see tessellating patterns when we went outside? And which shapes did you see? And so which shapes tessellate? And which shapes do not tessellate? And then finally I would ask them, what does tessellation mean?